If you think money will always make you happy, this story might surprise you. It is about a man who went from having nothing to having everything, and then learned that without wisdom, even 100 million naira can disappear like smoke in the wind. It is a story of pride, joy, noise, and later silence. Who know like better? Of course I am fine and beautiful. Once upon a time, in the busy city of Lagos, there lived a man called Okafo. He was a broke man who sold phone accessories beside the road. Every morning, before the sun was fully awake, he would drag his old wooden table under a small green umbrella at the junction. The air smelled of roasted corn, exhaust fumes, and hope. His table was stacked with phone chargers, earphones, power banks, and cheap phone cases. Some were original, some were not, but he arranged them neatly as if they were gold. "Original charger here," Okafo would shout, holding one up like a trophy. "Bluetooth earpiece, way go shock you." Most people just walked past him without looking. Others would stop, check the items, and still walk away. His sales were small, but he tried to smile. Okafo had big dreams. He wanted a big car, a big house, and a name that would make people turn their heads. But dreams are free, and reality costs money. Some days, when his sales were bad, he would buy a 150 naira bottle of Coke and a plate of hot Opa bean cake, sit on an overturned bucket, and stare into the sky. One day, he would tell his friends, "This same me, I go by Benz. Now last show be that." They would laugh and tell him to finish his food first. One rainy Tuesday, Okafo vanished from the junction. Nobody saw him for 2 weeks. Some people said he had traveled to the village. Others whispered that he had been arrested. But when he came back, Lagos could not believe their eyes. Okafo was no longer standing under his green umbrella. He was behind the wheel of a black Mercedes Benz that looked like it had just rolled out of a music video. The car shined so much you could see your face in it. He stepped out wearing a gold wristwatch, designer sneakers, and a white shirt that hugged his chest. A thick gold chain hung around his neck. His old, crooked smile had been replaced with a confident smirk. People gathered. "Okafo, now you be this?" He laughed, opened the boot, and brought out bundles of money. "Nami. But from today, no more Okafo. Call me Moaya or Mopo Wire." From that day, Mopo Wire became a moving carnival. Everywhere he went, he had at least 5 hype men, guys who clapped, shouted his name, and made sure everyone noticed his arrival. He called them Wire Nation. At clubs, he would buy the most expensive champagne and spray bundles of cash in the air. The music would stop for a moment so the MC could shout, "Make Una give way! Wire Nation on land." When he walked into the market, women selling tomatoes would stop to look. Okada riders would slow down just to stare. He rented a 5-bedroom duplex in Lekki and filled it with leather sofas, big screen TVs, and loud wall speakers. At night, the house turned into a party hall. DJ music shook the walls until morning. His clothes were never worn twice. After wearing a shirt or shoe once, he would give it to one of his hype men. He didn't check prices when shopping. If he liked it, he bought it. Some old friends from his umbrella-selling days pulled him aside. "Mopo Wire, this money, day finish oh. You need to invest." But he waved them off. "My guy, money no day finish. You go understand." They shook their heads. Lagos had seen this before. Wire Nation became famous for dramatic entrances. Sometimes, Mopo Wire would arrive at a party in a convoy of 3 rented luxury cars, with his hype men running ahead, throwing N500 notes on the ground like petals. He liked to rent yachts for weekend cruises, bringing along models, dancers, and his crew. Pictures of him holding champagne on the deck flooded Instagram. He was invited to music videos, comedy skits, and celebrity events. Everyone wanted a piece of Wire Nation. But behind the noise and glitter, a quiet shadow was growing. His bank account was bleeding faster than it was being fed. One morning, the rent for the Lekki duplex bounced back unpaid. He laughed it off and sent the money later that week. But the truth was, his account was already struggling. The cars he rented every month were swallowing millions. His hype men didn't pay for anything. He covered their drinks, clothes, and even house rent. One day, he checked his bank app and saw in 15 million. It still felt like plenty, but compared to the N100 million he started with, it was a frightening drop. He told himself it was just a temporary dip. The last big party he threw was on a Friday night. The champagne was flowing, the music was loud, and the lights from the rented hall made everything look like a movie scene. But as he sat in the VIP corner, something strange happened. He looked around and saw all the faces laughing, drinking, and shouting Wire Nation. But not one of them looked like a real friend. He felt a small coldness in his chest. That night, for the first time since becoming Mopo Wire, he went to bed sober. He didn't know it yet, but the fall of Wire Nation had already begun. Money can bring people to you, but when the money goes, you will see who truly loves you. This was the lesson Mopo Wire was about to learn the hard way. After that Friday night party, things started to change. The first big shock came when one of his hype men, Bello, called to say he needed N500,000 for urgent family issues. Normally, Mopo Wire would send it immediately, but this time he hesitated. His account had dropped again, this time to N9 million. "Guy, you don't have N500K?" Bello asked, his voice full of surprise. "I get M," Mopo Wire replied quickly, not wanting to look weak. "I go send you." He sent the money, but inside, a small alarm bell rang. One Saturday night, Wire Nation went to a club as usual. The lights were flashing, the DJ was shouting Mopo Wire's name, and his hype men were spraying Naira notes in the air. Then came the bill. The waiter brought a small brown folder. Inside, the total read 3.8 million Nigerian Nairas. Mopo Wire's hand froze. He had only N4 million left in his account. Paying this bill meant wiping away almost everything he had. He forced a smile, signed the receipt, and left without saying goodbye to anyone. That night, he didn't sleep. He kept staring at the ceiling fan, feeling like it was spinning faster than his thoughts. When the money was flowing, his phone never stopped ringing. People called him morning, afternoon, and night. But now, calls were becoming fewer. When he called them, they didn't pick up immediately. Some returned his call hours later, acting busy. One by one, his hype men started disappearing. Bello got a new big man to follow. The others began posting pictures with other rich guys. Wire Nation was breaking apart. It was a hot afternoon when a loud knock came at the Lekki duplex gate. Mopo Wire opened it to find his landlord standing there, flanked by 2 policemen. "Mr. Okafo," the landlord said coldly, "your rent has not been paid for 3 months." Mopo Wire tried to talk, but the landlord cut him off. "We gave you time. We sent messages. No more delay. Today you move out." The policeman stepped forward. "Olga, pack your things." Humiliation burned in his chest. Neighbors gathered, whispering. Some even took videos. He packed everything he owned into 2 travel bags. The rest of his things, the leather sofas, the big TVs, were seized by the landlord to cover part of the debt. With nowhere else to go, Mopo Wire called his cousin Obi. "I beg, Obi, fit I stay with you for some time?" Obi's voice was flat. "Come, but I no get space for big man lifestyle." When he arrived, Obi's small apartment felt like a prison. The walls were bare, the bed was small, and the kitchen was just one corner with a kerosene stove. That night, Obi looked him in the eyes and said, "Okafo, your walla no be that you no get money. Your walla na say you no get sense when you get am. Money without sense na like bucket without bottom, it go leak finish." The word stung, but deep down, Mopo Wire knew Obi was right. 4 weeks he stayed indoors, embarrassed to face the world. Then one day, Obi came home and said, "I get work for you. My guy day fine person way, go help for bakery. E no big money, but you go chop." At first, Mopo Wire laughed. "Me? Sell bread." But Obi just looked at him. "If you too big to work, you go too small to eat." The next morning, Mopo Wire followed Obi to the bakery. The air was warm and sweet with the smell of fresh bread. The boss, a middle-aged man with tired eyes, gave him an apron. "You go start by cleaning tables, carrying flour bags, and arranging bread on shelves," the boss said. At first, the work was painful. His back hurt from lifting flour bags. His hands burned from hot trays. The heat from the oven made his face sweat all day. But slowly, he started to enjoy the smell of fresh bread in the morning, the smiles of customers, and the quiet rhythm of honest work. One day, his boss caught him carefully arranging bread so the freshest ones were in front. You think like a businessman, the boss said. I like that. For the first time in months, Mopo Wire felt a small spark of pride. Weeks turned into months. Mopo Wire stopped wearing gold chains. He wore plain shirts and old jeans, but he walked with a different kind of confidence, the kind that came from earning every naira. The boss began trusting him with more responsibilities, handling money, checking stock, even training new staff. One morning, the boss called him into the office. I'm opening a new bakery branch, the boss said. I want you to manage it. Mopo Wire's eyes widened. Me? Yes. You have learned discipline. You know what it means to start from nothing. The new bakery was small but busy. People came from far just to buy the soft, golden brown loaves. They began calling him Bread Boss. It wasn't as flashy as Mopo Wire, but this name made him proud. He stopped thinking about quick money. His focus was on saving, growing the business, and making customers happy. But just when life was finally stable, someone from the past returned, someone who would test everything he had learned. It was a quiet Tuesday morning. The bakery smelled of warm loaves and fresh butter. Mopo Wire, now known proudly as the Bread Boss, was checking the stock when a deep voice called from the door. Okafo, or should I say, Mopo Wire. He froze. Standing there was Big Lens, his old hype man, wearing a shiny red suit and dark glasses indoors. Long time, my guy, Big Lens said, grinning. I hear say you day sell bread now. Now wow, but I bring you better thing. They sat in a small cafe nearby. Big Lens leaned close. Look, there's this money laundering run. One move, and you go get 150 million Nigerian nairas. No stress, no work, no walla. You fit use and buy back your Benz, rent Lucky House again, Wire Nation go resurrect. Mopo Wire stared at him. 150 Nigerian nairas million, the same kind of big money that had once made him king of the streets. But with that thought came another. Memories of the eviction, of packing his things into 2 small travel bags of Obi's hard words, money without sense now like bucket without bottom. He smiled faintly. Lens, no day do last shows again. Not daily bread I day run now. And my bread day rise steady. Big Lens laughed. Guy, you don soft. No, Mopo Wire said firmly. I don wise. He stood, left some money for the coffee and walked away. Behind him, Big Lens called out, You go regret am. But Mopo Wire didn't look back. Months passed. The bakery business grew. He opened a second branch and trained young workers to run it honestly. People respected him not just for his bread, but for the way he carried himself. Calm, humble, and disciplined. He no longer needed hype men to shout his name. His work spoke for him. Sometimes, he drove past the old junction where his green umbrella used to stand. He would see young hustlers selling chargers and phone cases, and he would smile, remembering where he came from. One evening, as he closed the bakery, a young boy asked him, Oga Bread Boss, how you make it from street to this? Mopo Wire patted his shoulder and said, My boy, money way you no plan for go disappear like smoke. But small money way you work for, save, and grow. Now I'm go stay with you. No let greed rush you. Learn sense before you learn spending. The boy nodded slowly, and that is how the man who was once called Mopo Wire ended his story, not as a king of noise, but as a builder of something real. If you get money but don't use it wisely, it will finish quickly. But if you work hard, save, and don't waste what you have, you can grow something that will last forever. If you have not subscribed to my channel, you might not hear my voice again, but if you are, then you are growing every day. Check my page for more interesting stories. Thanks for watching.